Hi, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with My People. So first of all, I want to say I got 3 texts from friends saying, Happy National Joy Day. So I want to wish everybody a happy Joy Day. I mean, for me, every day is my joy day because that's my happy place. And that's where I connect to me, my soul, my essence, my human spirit is in joy. So I invite all of you to just jump on that, okay? And I'm feeling so good about this guest that we have today with us on Conversations with My People. You know, I meet so many young people, and every once in a while, someone just really stands out. And I'm not even sure why, because when I met Thomas, I was actually speaking, and they had a little green room in the back, and I passed him. And even when I passed him, I was like, there were 2 guys standing there at an all-women's event, may I add. and and then when he spoke to me, he walked in and he just had this energy. And I was like, wow, for such a young person, number one, I just felt like I was with somebody who was so grounded and yet so confident. And the questions he asked, the inquiry, just even the way he connected, I thought, wow, I knew nothing about him. And I had this feeling like, wow, this guy is up to something really amazing. Like you could just feel it. And then when I got to know him, I was just really inspired. I'm inspired by like how passionate he is. Like you could just feel the fire in his belly. Like you just knew this kid is really up to some really amazing things. So, and in the last couple of months, I've collaborated, been on his podcast. And again, I'm just like, he's had some great successes, which I'm going to have him talk to you about. But the thing that's amazing is that he really understands the collectiveness of community. And even though he's having his own individual successes, it's like he already is in, at 27 years old, he's already in the understanding of when you elevate others, when you lean into others, when you create collective energy, consciousness with other people, like that's where the real magic is. And for that, I am so inspired because that's how we are going to move the needle, and we're going to really change everything, change the world the way it is today. So let's invite on Thomas Ma. Hi, Thomas.
Hi.
So a ritual that we do before we start, we always do some big, deep healing, joy-filled, love-filled, connected-filled breaths. So will you join us for 3 big breaths?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. So just sit straight and let's just take a little scan of our body from the tip of our feet up to the top of our head. And then just breathe in. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 5. Inhale, love. Hold your breath. Exhale through your nose. Inhale, joy. Hold your breath and smile. And exhale. Inhale, love. Hold your breath. Exhale. Okay. Well, so you're 27 years old and you've had a lot of great success. So I was thinking about this morning, even before, like we've had a frame up call and we have all these great questions, but like this morning when I was on my little walk, I was like, I have other questions that I've never asked him. And I want to know like the backdrop of that, because for somebody who's had so much success as young, like what were you like in high school? Like because I believe that's like probably where your journey of entrepreneurship even started. Like I'm sure you were doing things a little bit different than the average high school student. So just give me like a quick little understanding of like Thomas in high school.
Wow. Yeah. I don't think I've shared this with you ever. And I
No,
haven't talked about
I know I
my
want to
high
know.
school. What a surprise, but I like it. Me in high school, timid, quiet, never really felt like I fit in with the popular group by any means. I wasn't smart. I didn't do well on the ACT. I That's a standardized test. I got like a 21, which is really bad. So in high school, I was kind of just like the kid in the back corner who never saw, like, if you know how they do those surveys of who will be the most successful person when they
Right.
graduate. I'm like, no way in chance I'll make a business, no way in chance I'll do anything. So I felt very hopeless and not too confident in myself, always like seeking permission rather than just doing something and seeing what happens.
Mm, wow. I don't know why, but that was not what I was expecting. Okay.
I know, it's a shocker.
So I love this though. Okay. So that was you in high school. So then you graduate high school at 18, feeling shy, not worthy, not really
Yeah,
confident, not really
I
like,
didn't even go to prom or anything like that either, like all those stuff. That, yep.
so you just clearly just didn't fit in. Like you couldn't
Uh,
really find your way in this. And that was in Chicago, correct?
yeah, like I never got invited to the cool kids party. I was never popular, never like that jock. So yeah,
You know, it's so funny. Like one part of me wants to go, oh, I'm so sorry for you, Thomas. But the other part of me is like, okay, that was really good because, like, look who you became. Maybe because
yeah,
of it, because maybe if you were the cool kid and you were the kid that had all that, maybe, probably, most likely, you wouldn't be where you are today. So take us through. You graduated, then what happened? How did you start? Did you go to college?
yeah. I went to college. I was supposed to be pre-pharmacy because growing up, my aunt was, kind of the person we all looked up to. She got paid very well, very safe job. We lived in, I guess, a nice home that she paid for, so my parents didn't have to worry. And my parents just said, just follow her. And I just said, okay, I will. I went to school freshman year. Again, super quiet. This is something I've never shared, I don't think, before, but I was the team manager for the women's basketball team. Like the ball boy who collects the
Yeah,
ball.
yeah.
Yeah, getting water for people. I
I'm
did that.
just curious, what made you do that? Was it because, like, what made you like one day go and sign up for that?
I was in the cafeteria. The student manager at the time lived in my dorm, like floor, and he just said, "Hey, the team needs some extra help. Would you be willing to go?" And I just said yes. I didn't realize it meant waking up at like 6 a.m. on the weekdays and basically being a student athlete because I had to be there before the practice. And then at the games, I had to be there early, setting up the chairs, make sure the coach's like book was all neat, organized for her. It was different. But that was freshman year.
Hmm.
And then, oh, the other college part is went to Spain my sophomore year, study abroad. I didn't really tell my parents. I felt pretty lost my sophomore year because I was doing organic chemistry and biology. I would study all night. I would sleep in the library, and then I would get, not a good grade. I got my first D, and then I realized this sucks. Like, why am I spending all these time doing something I don't like? Went to Spain, didn't know a single soul, and that's kind of where I was forced to grow up and kind of like got a fresh start because no one knew my backstory, and it really made me step out of that comfort zone to meet people, not be afraid because people didn't care, and it was the best time of my life. And if I could go back in time, I might go back just for that fun. That's how fun it was for me. And then I came back, didn't want to do pharmacy, pre-med, wanted to go into business, finance, just because it paid well. So my mindset was, let's just find a safe job that paid well, which is obviously not the right mindset today, looking back. But I just did it because it seemed like the path to go. And Junior year, did that, got no internships, worked at Chipotle, worked on a boat, worked at my mom's nail salon when I didn't have a job. And I had that epiphany to start a business because no one gave me a chance. And that's when, everything changed. Like I gave up my social life, couldn't go out with people because I was broke. And, my weekends was spent at the nail salon with my mom doing pedicure, manicure, talking to people, and just making sure like I had enough money to kind of keep going. And I spent a lot of time going to networking events, just talking and eating a lot of junk food, by the way. So I was kind of out of shape too. I didn't realize like my cheeks were like really big. And then my mom would say like, oh, your cheeks are huge. I didn't know that she was like, like saying, well, you've been eating a little too much.
That's so funny. So wait a minute. So you had this idea to start a business. So what was the business that you started at basically 20 years old or 21?
It was May 2015. So I remember the date like it was yesterday because I was going to the career center, where they give you internships. And I'm like, hey, I need advice. And, they didn't really give me any jobs. And I just felt kind of confused. Like, why am I paying tuition for this school and degree if I can't even land a job? Like, what does this mean? And I just told my friend at the time, I said, hey, like, I want to make this job hunting platform for college kids. I don't know how I'll do it. But I told that, went home, told my other roommate, and they were shocked because, never saw me doing this. Went through a lot of struggle, talked to a lot of career advisors, actually did pretty good for a year and a half, never made a dollar, but just a lot of hustle. And then the real business started when I met Anish, my current business partner, in 2016 at a Shark Tank pitch event. We saw Damon John. And I remember this girl won $10,000 for her pitch. And I just thought, whoa, someday, wouldn't it be cool to be on a stage to be acknowledged for something great? Because I've never been a winner in anything. Well, now like I got the Forbes 30 under 30. So that's like my equivalent of, finally that moment that I've always wanted, but never got to experience.
Wow. Wait a minute. So you got that award? You said you would notice. I don't want to.
Yeah. So I got the Forbes 30 under 30 this year, but it just makes me reflect to the times where I would see other people achieve all these great things and just kind of say like, it'd be nice maybe to be on this level with so many great people someday, because in Chicago, like I didn't know any entrepreneurs. My teachers, they're always like traditional corporate route.
Okay, wait. So we got to go back because first of all, I want to hold the space for you for how big that award is. Like 30 under 30 is really huge. So I just want you to like feel that, Thomas, like really feel that. That is something like so special. It's a really big deal. And I want to acknowledge you for that. That is so big. So I want to hold the space for that. But I also want you to take us through, like, how did you go from like starting that business to actually getting that award? Like, explain to us that journey, like the details of it, the juicy, yummy things that entrepreneurs want to understand. Like, how do you go from there to there in literally like 4 years? That's huge.
Yeah. The biggest thing was I was always going out to events. I stopped going to the bars. I was in a fraternity. I mean, the guys are great and super good people, but I felt that I had to shift what I was doing to pave my own path. And that meant getting a lot of coffee chats with people, just saying, hey, do you mind if I pick your brain sometime? And this is anybody. I would ask people like in corporate, like I didn't care what position they were. I just wanted to get to know different people. But the thing people don't understand is most of these people didn't have the entrepreneur experience. So here I am, I'm looking for this path to become an entrepreneur, but the people I talked to weren't experienced, but I just kept doing it. And it brought me to Los Angeles because I joined this Facebook group where there were a lot of people, very young, successful, in high school, college, making money, making memes. And I was like, whoa, like, what am I doing? So I just started reaching out to those people on Facebook via Messenger. And then I flew to Los Angeles, went to these events, met people. And then eventually people just started sharing marketing stuff to me. So kind of mentoring me in a way, but by giving me the recipes that they kind of made to get to where they are. And then slowly I started, taking the recipes from certain people and just combining it into my own path. And I realized, making memes was something I found fascinating. I saw these big pages on Instagram, social media, and I just reached out to them saying, "Hey, what do you charge?" And then I would just go to Los Angeles. People would say, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm really interested in marketing." And then they would tell me their idea. I would say, "By the way, you should try working with these meme pages, super cheap and good conversion." And then somebody just PayPal me the day of at a party. And then I did good. I made a meme, it converted, they kept renewing us. Took that case study, share it to other people, because as long as you do good, people are going to talk about you in a good manner. And it eventually led to TikTok in 2018 when they just got acquired by, or Musically just got acquired. And that was kind of the moment that, I've been waiting for, like somebody big to give us a chance. And we delivered. Like we delivered in the US. I remember in 2018, we did all these trends, all these big music songs that people would talk about. We were the ones who really pushed it and got it known, and we got to do it globally. And that was like surreal because we weren't a big company. And it's just like, I'm not experienced, business partners not experienced, but we just had the hustle and tenacity to figure things out. We would do stuff in Brazil where they don't speak English, and then I would have to find people in Brazil to translate, pay them, find accounts, make memes, make all this stuff and make it look nice, and formulate a report for TikTok Brazil team. And I did not know the language, and I would also sneak into a lot of parties. That's kind of how I met them. I went to all these big LA events. If I saw VIP, I would just walk through, walk behind, pretended like I belong. And most of the times people didn't care. I just looked like I didn't look like I belong. I looked like a kid, to be honest with you. I was wearing like this hat, these glasses, and looking back at my photos, I'm like, how did this guy get in here? I don't really know. They just thought I was, nice.
I love this story because really, like, one day TikTok just showed up. Like one day it was like nobody ever heard of it. And the next day it becomes this like huge thing. And really, like, your marketing, you and your partner's marketing is what created that. I mean, that is
Yeah.
that is so big, and that is so huge. Amazing. And like you said, you were just creating it. You were inventing it. You were being, in your flow of just, creating, innovative, like figuring it out. Like that's really so much of what entrepreneurship is, right? It's just figuring that out. So, and then at one point, I know you guys, like, there are so many different ways you could go, and talk a little bit about the way that you guys did choose to go, which was more you bootstrapped your whole.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about that, because you could have very easily have grown your business in another way. And you were very purposeful in the way in which you did grow your business. So share with us some of that whole bootstrapping.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to making a business, we actually started, I forgot to mention, we made emojis in the beginning. We just reached out to celebrities and just kind of said, "Hey, we'd want to make an emoji app for you." And it was the same foundation, reaching out to people, getting them interested. And then with the marketing stuff that we do or did with TikTok, it was just something that was a demand. Like there was an opportunity, and we didn't want to waste that opportunity. So we would say yes. And that's the biggest advice that I would give to other people, is to don't fall in love with one idea for too long. Always be open-minded to new things, new people, because you never know what that can lead to.
Wow, I love that. And really being open-minded is such a big part of it. Being open-minded, being present, being expansive. I mean, I always say those are kind of like the laws of nature, right? Like when we follow the laws of nature, the laws of nature is for us to create, right? Like it's all about creation and being open and just connecting and sharing ideas. And that was a big part of what you did too. Like you were going out and you were just, I mean, you didn't say, "I'm going to go out networking to collaborate with people," but that's kind of what you were doing. Like you were out there figuring out, like listening. Like I would say you had this like generous listening to listen to what people really wanted and what they were looking for and what they were saying. And then you guys were going back and being like uber creative on how to give people what they were looking for, which was basically marketing tools to thrive their different businesses, to thrive their own brands, right?
Yeah, no, totally. And the other thing is, all this is learned just by doing. I read books and stuff, but it doesn't simulate the interaction with, say the clients that you want to work with. I've been turned down many times. I've gotten screwed in terms of, I thought something would be great, but then it was dragged, wasn't worth the time, but all those things made me stronger. And I had to become a better person. Yeah, like confident. It sounds so simple, but I learned in meetings, if you're going to talk to someone to work with them, they need to know you're experienced and confident, because now with, say pitches, I don't even call them pitches anymore. I don't have anything ready to present with people I talk to, believe it or not. I kind of just take it on a whim. I'm at a Starbucks, we'll say, and I'll just do a FaceTime and, I'm just honest. I'm like, this is what we can do. And the thing is, you don't have to over prepare anymore if you're confident in your stuff. Like I used to spend hours researching, making pitch decks, and all that stuff's not needed if you like what you're doing and know what you're good at.
Well, the other thing is you've done, you're prepared because you've done your work. When people haven't put in the time, the effort, haven't done what you've done to build something, then they're winging it. Like you don't really wing it because you have all the goods. You have
now I do.
That's what I'm saying. I understand. Yeah. Listen, I used to say in my own career, sometimes you have to fake it to make it.
Yep.
And like you have to just fake it. But that's okay because that is part of the process. But now you're at a completely different place. And one of the things that I loved what you talked about in the frame up call, that you felt that the people that were mentoring you. Talk a little bit about mentorship, because I know you have said that that's a big part of success for you, that you clearly went out there and got good mentors. I kind of felt the other day that maybe even people were mentoring you that didn't even know they were mentoring you, because it was just more organic. It was more conversational.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate to meet some really good people in Los Angeles who would take me in when I traveled there. They would let me sleep on their couch. I had this one couple at the time, and they would treat me like family. I would sleep on their couch. The next day, they would, get lunch for me. They would let me listen in on their meetings. They would take me to other networking events and just say, hey, this is Thomas. And these were very established people. And I felt very accepted. I was able to ask questions. I saw what they did. And that kind of like paved my progress, because when it came to real clients, they would look at my proposals. Now I don't even send proposals anymore, but back then I would send like, all these proposals, statement of work, blah, blah, blah. And they looked through everything for me. So in the early days, they didn't care about money or, hey, I need 10% or like what's in it for me. And that's the key thing with Los Angeles, because if you're new there, in my case, a lot of people, they need something. Like they want something back, and
right.
It feels weird and ingenuine. That kind of messed with my head too, with how I was seeing people, because it made me judge people, and like it's not fair to have that. But I've been like in the other side so many times that it was hard to not prejudge.
Well, it's funny that you talk about like helping people with no agenda, because I know when I started mentoring young women, and happened really more organically, I know that people would be like, well, what's her intention? Why is she doing that? Why is she giving so much time? Like, and I remember when somebody had said that to me, well, they're kind of curious why you're helping that. And I'm like, I thought it was so weird, because for me, it was coming from such a pure place,
Yeah.
I feel like I can like remember all the people that helped me along the way. And it just feels natural when you're at a certain level that, I mean, really, it's like, that's what it's about. Like, it's really about helping others. Like, you get so much when you are leaning in and helping other people with their journey. Especially, I felt like I had experience in that area. So I know when you move to LA, I mean, I've even been in predicaments where people have introduced me to people, and then like 6 months after the fact, they're like, well, where's my commission? And I'm like,
Yeah.
commission for what? And they were like, well,
Yeah.
I put you together. And I'm like, you made a phone call to
Yeah.
say, hey, I have a friend that's going into this. And she's like, yeah, but I should get a commission for that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, if I
Mhm.
if I was looking to make money, I would have had millions of extra dollars for all of the
Yeah.
people and connections that I put together. And I just remember thinking at that moment, like, wow, that's sad, because I looked at this person also who was out there doing that. And you know what? They weren't having a lot of successes, because I really believe in life, your frequency, that energy that you have, and that frequency, that's what brings and attracts things, including money, because money is a frequency. But when you're out there, like, just kind of always trying to figure out, usually those are the people that never have the money, because
Yeah, you're
it's
right.
like they
They
just don't.
kind of like pretenders, and that's why they do it so aggressively, because I don't blame them either. So now looking back at some of the people I've met, I don't blame any of the people who did that, because you're in survival mode. So
Right.
you have to do whatever you need to in order to eat and have a place to sleep.
Yeah, and because I do agree, and you have to shift it a little bit, because if you keep doing the same thing and you're not getting anywhere, then you're kind of insane, right? So at some point you've got to say, hey, let me take a breath here. Let me look at the way I'm doing my life. You
Yeah.
know, maybe I have to become more conscious and figure out some ways to do it a little differently, because at the end of the day, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm just in this same circle, right? So,
Yeah.
so let's also talk about, because one of the things on our last conversation, it was actually the moment when I was like, oh my God, I have to have Thomas on conversations with my people. And it was that at one point in our last conversation, that was just a friend conversation. We just, did a FaceTime and just to
Yeah.
connect. I've been away for 6 weeks, and you were just moved into,
Yep.
Arizona. It was like, all right, let's connect. And all of a sudden, you told me that about your spiritual journey, and that you
Yeah.
have a spiritual teacher or coach or something. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like,
Yeah.
and then you explained to me what why you didn't really explain why, but what she did. And man, I was so curious that I actually did a couple sessions with her, and which I loved her, by the way. But like, talk to us a little bit about that, because I'm going to say at 27 years old, you made a lot of money. You were very generous. You bought your parents a house. You moved. Like, you've got like all this swag going on now. Like, you've got the swag, you've
Yeah.
got the people, you've got the connections. Like, the majority of 27-year-olds would not be at that point, be like, oh, I'm going to go in deeper. I'm going to check into my soul and see. Like, it would look a lot different. Like, it would be like, I can't wait for the bars to open up, so now I can be like the cool guy with the bottle service and all the chicks around me because I have money, like
Yeah.
the typical LA thing. So, I just know in my heart that that's not who you are
Oh
anyway.
no.
And it's
No.
always been divine intervention for you to never have that. So,
Yeah.
which is so beautiful, because you're protected from that like dark energy. But like, talk to me about embarking on that spiritual journey, and like how it's enhanced your personal life, but then how it's making you a stronger, more connected, entrepreneur.
Yeah. The first, how I met her, her name's Kelly. And I held a Zoom event. It was a bonfire on Eventbrite because during the pandemic last year, I just wanted to bring people together because we were all so alone. And she shows up one day. She didn't even sign up for the event. A friend of her who saw it on Eventbrite sent her the link. She came to like, what is this? I'm like, oh, we just hang out and talk. And she said, I read people. We split up the rooms. People were just getting their messages read. I was the moderator, so I'd pop in and out. Every time she spoke, she would just, share her thoughts on people's life without really knowing them. When I found out that she was doing that, I said, hey, why don't you read my business partner? So I remember he was in his room. I brought my laptop. I'm like, hey, read him. She got everything right. His personal stuff, his parents, like how he's more like on his mom's side and his how he acts. I was like, this is crazy. So I said, why don't we chat next week, FaceTime? And I couldn't believe what she was telling me. And I didn't realize I had any issues in my headspace, but there were some things that I thought that was kind of holding me back with my mindset of, like prejudging people. Why was I prejudging people? And it was because, of the LA thing that I went through. And my parents, she dug back to me being raised as a kid. Like, why? Like, how did my parents treat me? And then I'm like, oh, so this is why it happened. She's like, all right, Thomas, you need to take a step back. This is why. Let's fix it. And then my mind became open. I started talking to her on a weekly basis, just as a life coach, because for me, it's just about having fun in the present, not living for the future, even though it's hard. It's really difficult. And I don't want to do stuff that stresses me out. And she kind of helps me stay calm, but also grow as a person. And the cool stuff is she can kind of forecast like the future in a way. Like she's predicted crazy things in my life where I'm like, no way. And then it happened. And I just said, wow, this is because of her. And she's really genuine. And I've never met anyone like her. I've seen such great progress. And it's not like a financial thing. It's just like my headspace, which is like so key. If you can take care of your head, the rest will take care of itself. And I feel very, very good about myself.
Wow, I love hearing that, especially hearing how 10 years ago you didn't feel great about yourself. And today, I mean, again, I met you, I think, about a year and a half ago. And to me, even at that point, I felt like you were a confident, connected, grounded, successful person. So, like, where, like, you work with her? I know you said you're working with her every week. So how do you feel like that helps you in business? Because, I call myself a spiritual entrepreneur. And very often people will say, what does that mean to be a spiritual entrepreneur, Lavinia? And I say, well, what it means is that I do the same things that entrepreneurs do. Like, there's no doubt about it. However, I do it in a different way. It's a different level of consciousness. It's a different level of awareness. I focus in on being humble first. One of the things you said the other day was, when we were talking about some stuff, you were talking about how, with companies or people, when you go in to talk to them, you could even see the ones that like were open to younger people, that were open to their ideas, open to the way that they were setting stuff up. And, I go through that all the time with some of the girls that I mentor, because when I hear the way organizations are set up, they have such a story about millennials. They have such a story about the way they work and the way they do things, and like as if everybody on the top in the C-suite has it so perfect and the younger people don't. And where I always thought of myself is I wanted to hear what the younger people had to say. Always. Like, I feel like that was one of our strong suits at Equinox, is that, well, first of all, we were young. And I'd like to hear what everyone had to say. And that continues in my career, is that, like, I would never look and at a younger person and think that your idea is a bad idea because you haven't lived through it. Actually, I honor very often because they have a different lens. I always feel like younger people, they're downloading so much different than we are, than, you know, people more in my generation. So it's really about being able to connect with them and really like honor where they are. So talk to us a little bit about that, like really being able to be young and have that orientation.
Yeah, I feel, very good in the sense that my mind just doesn't think of too much variables that I can't control. That's the biggest thing that I've benefited from just interacting with her. And by scenarios we can't control. So that an example can be like you want your business to work, like you want this huge client, but you don't know where this client is or how you'll get there, or you have debt and you want to overcome that. Um, I just know to appreciate every moment, like even talking to you, like I'm not thinking like what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week or next year, like where I'll be, because then I kind of would be like, away from the present.
Right. Well, being present is never an easy thing for people. Like they have to really work. We have to always work on that. But I do think to be able to just really genuinely connect and be in meetings or listening to people, like working on that skill set, you know, listening, I always say, I think is like, it really is a superpower for
Mhm.
people that really learn how to listen and not just when somebody's talking, they're already in their own head and thinking how they're going to respond, or they're, like you say, judging what the person's saying, or, you know, figuring out how am I going to sound smarter or whatever, depending on where that person is coming from. So, you know, I know you are even angel investing right now in young people. Like I know
Yeah,
you're a little bit, right?
a little bit. Yeah, I just try to find entrepreneurs that I can relate to and just kind of give them the blueprint. I don't actually expect anything from angel investing or anything like that. I just want to make sure I'm helping good people, because through Kelly and talking to her, giving brings me a lot more joy than my own success. I don't really look at my success and be like, oh, this is cool. Like I never even talk about it now. Like when I meet people, I don't feel the need to be like, oh, I work with TikTok. Like I've been on Forbes, because to me, like I care more about the person in front of me, and I'm curious. And then people always ask deep questions, and that's where I share about myself.
Mhm.
But it's so cool to see, if someone's struggling, like if they need a job. The other day, I just put together an Excel sheet of all the people I know and who's hiring my relationship. Because now if people say, hey, Thomas, I need a job or I'm struggling, I just send them my Excel sheet. And if they're a good person and I can vouch for them, I can reach out to a lot of people who can hire them on the spot. Like I have that power now. And it feels nice to be able to move it forward, because I think of Thomas in college when I was applying to all these positions for an internship, entry level, and I got nothing. Nobody was there to, refer me or get me in. And the jobs that were available weren't, the big companies. They were just very unpaid, not the best places, but you got to start somewhere.
Right, you do have to start somewhere. So I'm just curious, when you say like they're a good person, right? Like I can vouch for them. What is your idea of a good person? Like I want to, like, what are the characteristics that you're going to be like, I'm really comfortable picking up the phone and making that phone call for this person? Like what is that person? What are their values? What do they look like? How do they show up? Like let our audience kind of know what that means, because I think everybody's idea of a good person is a little different, and I'm very curious what yours is.
I feel that I have very good intuition now, just talking through Kelly. I feel that I've picked up, you know, a thing or two just vibing with them on the phone. And there's little stuff too. You can hear people, if they're interested in good people, they'll ask about, I guess in this case, me, and it doesn't feel very one-sided. That's one way. And two, just kind of their backstory and what their goals are. It's kind of hard to describe. I just kind of know based on
Right.
the conversations we have.
It's interesting because I know for myself, like the attributes that I really look at is I always say that if somebody's smart and they're disciplined, um, and but they have to, because there are certain things we can train people, like people can be trainable to learn a certain task. But the big thing for me, the most important thing is like their attitude. Like, what is their attitude like? Because as we know, when you're working with the team, when somebody walks in and their attitude is like, is positive and it's approachable and they take, criticism, in a healthy way, and they're not getting defensive and they're not trying to outdo the next person. Like they understand there's no I in team and we work together and your success is going to bring my success and your ideas is going to pop my idea. And when you have that kind of camaraderie and harmony, like that's magic. But, there's been people that I haven't recommended who are really smart, graduated some of the best colleges, but I've heard their rhetoric, like their attitude is not as impressive and as their actual resume, or their school resume. And, for times that's where I get this incongruency of like, man, like you are so smart. Like, no doubt you are friggin' brilliant. Like you've got it going on, but it's like, it's your attitude and your energy that is just not aligned, so that for me is always a really important part of the equation that I don't think young people or anyone ever puts enough emphasis on, that energy, that orientation, that like, I'm here to solve, like, not to look at where everything's wrong and blame people, but to be like, hey, like really in it with each other in a really positive way. And I see that about you. Like you are just so that person.
Thank you.
Yeah, I see that. So if we were, because we're going to be ready to close soon, like if you're going to look at an entrepreneur and you wanted to give them like 3 like huge tips or things that that they need in order to move forward in their life, like what would you say like the 3 essentials are to really like be able to become a successful human being, a successful entrepreneur? Like now that you've had this experience, what do you
One is make sure to know your why, and you hear this everywhere, but know why you're getting into it. What makes this fun? Why do you love this idea? And thinking when this works, how will you feel? And the key is when, not, like if. It's a when thing, because if you don't believe that you can do it, why is someone going to have, confidence in you as the individual? 2 is spend a lot of time talking to other people that you admire. See what they do, shadow them. If someone lets you see what they do, that's a huge win, because that's hard to get. And I actually let people shadow me because I was given that opportunity. I realized how critical it was for me. And it wasn't just seeing what they did and copying them. It was just seeing what they did to learn. They never said, Thomas, like, this is what you're going to do. It's, Thomas, let me know what you're curious about. So it's just being patient. Don't just throw like a bunch of stuff on their plate and expect for them to digest that information. Everybody will progress at a different level. And 3, just enjoy the moment and have fun. Have fun as in, like looking at other people and realizing that by you stepping away to do something on your own, it's a huge step, because not many people can do that. And just know that, you're going to struggle. There's no way to sugarcoat that. It's going to happen. And you got to be okay with not being bougie. Don't look at Instagram and compare yourself to other people, what they're doing, the Coachellas, the relationships, the vacations, all this stuff. I mean, it's your story. And that's actually one reason why I don't use Instagram or social media much anymore, even though I work with a lot of social media. It's just because I don't check stories and feed and compare myself to what other people are doing. I just kind of live in today with what I have in front of me.
Oh my gosh, I wish I wish everybody could listen to just that part of it, because I have a whole rhetoric about Instagram and so much with social media and how it like
Mhm.
it really does create some incongruency inside our hearts, to really actually allow us to be so expansive and so creative, because we spend a lot of time worrying and comparing ourselves to other people. And that time in which you're comparing is like, it's like when you're not creating, like you're not in the moment to collaborate, have energy with somebody, and then who knows where it's going to go, right? I love what you're saying. That was going to be my last question, but now I have another question.
Go for it.
So what's next? Like when you close your eyes, like you just close your eyes and you go and you just like see Thomas chilling, leaning in, helping, like, but then like if you just give it like expansiveness and breath, what comes in? Like maybe it's just a little quiet thing that comes in and kind of whispers something in your ear. Like, what do you think whispering in your ear right now?
Yeah, I used to do this a lot and visualize the future, but I learned in a way it was kind of negative, because when I didn't achieve that, then I would feel, not so great. So now it's just, I honestly, I don't forecast that far anymore. I'm just
But
thinking,
I'm not even asking you for a visualization or forecast.
yeah,
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you for something different. I'm asking you for something that is coming, birthing through you, because I think creative people, we always have something like whispering in our ear, but it's coming through us. It's coming like something's just coming forth. Like you had this desire to move, right?
yeah,
So, and then you moved, and that was something that came through you. It wasn't a forecast. It wasn't like a visualization. It just became like an awareness and you moved. I'm talking about something like that, something that's coming through you to just move you in this direction, to play in that sandbox for a little bit. What
I
might that?
guess meeting more people. And by meeting more people, I'm not really like, oh, I got to meet an entrepreneur. Like, I got to meet the successful business person. It's just letting more people who are just great be part of my life. Because for the longest time, actually in Los Angeles, you go through this mind game. And I was like, I got to meet this 7-figure entrepreneur, 8-figure, because, hopefully I'll learn a thing or two from hanging with them. But then that's not the right way to approach life. So I think the next thing is honestly just letting people I meet at the coffee shop or everyday life and just hanging out with them just because they're good people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. And I have one other thing. I'm going to sprinkle a little love dust on you, because
Go for it.
I want you to find your person, because I know we've talked a little bit about that. Like, so that might be a little something to just percolate in, to meet that special, amazing person who just makes you, who's an awesome human being. And, and you guys just have a great connection. So
Yeah, I'm ready for that next chapter too.
I
So
love it. All right, good. Thomas, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to connect with us. I know a lot of our community, we have a lot of young entrepreneurs, and people are going to want to reach out to you. So I think what you said, the best way to do it is to just DM you, right?
on Instagram, yeah.
Okay, great.
I check my DMs, even though I don't check stories, I get the notification on my phone.
Okay, good. And we'll put your Instagram on laviniaerico.com. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited for where you are not visualizing where you're going,
Yeah.
but where you're going. Like I can feel it. And I love all the different textures and richness to who you are. And I love that you're on this like spiritual journey of consciousness and awakening, and being able to share that and take, number one, your family on that transformational journey with you, and people you love. And then, just broadening your community and sharing everything you're learning. So thank you so much. And everyone, we will see you in 2 weeks. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.